Hey there, it's day 121 of a screenwriter's journey, and just a little commentary. I've been posting these on Facebook to different groups, and one guy keeps telling me that nobody cares. And I appreciate his sentiment. The truth is that very few people care, but even one is enough to make me keep going. And I was thinking this morning while snowblowing the law, I was going to say the law in the driveway, that when this gets sold and becomes a movie, more people will care. If it doesn't become a movie, then I retract that statement. All right, so what I'm doing here is fiddling around with the first few pages. As you know, holy cow, it's today is December 18th, and I wrote this on November 15th, so that's a month ago in a couple of change days. And it's always a situation where I've got a month's, that's a hard word to say, a month's worth of writing in the meantime. And when I think what's changed and what stayed the same and where I am sort of mentally and metaphysically, maybe with this script, it's crazy to look and see what I was writing at the time. Again, not that I'm going to change anything, but I guess that's part of the journey. And there are those who might want to watch the first day and then skip to the last day, but I couldn't tell you when that last day is going to be. So what I'm playing with here, amongst other things, is how kind of mean, how unhearted, no, that's not the right word, how mean-hearted, I guess, how hardened of a heart Rachel has. And could a mom, what would it take for a mom to leave her 6-year-old girl? That is something that I've been puzzling over and continue to puzzle over as I write, and then as I read what I've written, and as I rewrite, and as I continue to think it through. Because there are moms and dads that abandon their kids. And so, I have some ideas. I think at the time that I'm writing this, I'm still working through those ideas. Obviously here in this version, Rachel's an extremely hard-hearted person. We don't know why. Of course, we're going to find out that she married into this mafia family of sorts. But I've just really been playing with the idea of, like I said, what would make a mom go to this extent of not taking the daughter with her into protective custody, but just not abandoning her, but giving her to this agency who is going to give her to a foster home, etc. So that's what I'm working on. And then, of course, on the other hand, Holly has gone on this mission or this assignment in hopes of getting a little experience, and she is getting more than she bargained for here. And so, whereas Rachel is being super hard-hearted, Holly is, trying to make the girl obviously feel better, et cetera, and is thrown into this situation and not really 100% sure how to handle it because she, never got this sort of training. And so I'm just trying to get that contrast between the two. Obviously, Holly is our protagonist. Is Rachel going to be the antagonist? Well, she was in all the earlier drafts, so why not make her one in this one? I had toyed with the idea, and I don't know that I'd ever written it, but I'd certainly toyed with the idea in my ideas document of Rachel being more of a sympathetic character, and she and Holly team up to find the daughter, but I could just never get to the point where I really liked that. So there you have it. Now, I must be thinking, because I'm not writing. Did you tell me we're going with you where I'm taking you, not to your house? Yeah, so again, this is many over the next several days. It may feel like months to you because it has for me. I don't know how many iterations of this opening scene, basically, or the opening couple scenes that I've gotten, because they just don't feel right. And again, it may just be me, but I've got to write it out before I know it doesn't work. I can think about it, I can write it into a paragraph form. I can speak it into a voice recorder, whatever. But until I see it and let the characters live and breathe in that scene, then I say, does that accomplish what it's supposed to on the one hand, and does it feel like these are real people doing real stuff? Which obviously they're not, because it's a movie, but you get what I'm coming to. So yeah, just playing with the dialogue there, and obviously these parts where I'm not writing, I'm thinking. Imagine that. So now I've got to fill in the void with a voiceover. Not really. So they're in the van. So, of course, this is what has been and what continues to be kind of the save the cat scene where Holly's going to do something nice. So I'm thinking, how much to bring the other, not really agent, but the U.S. Marshal, the deputy guy into here. He's not even in this scene at all right now. Whoops, spoiler, I gave away something that's going to happen in a future version, apparently. No, I'm cleaning my screen. Extremely interesting. So Holly obviously has brought a couple of the stuffed animals with her, pulls them out and makes the girl happy. And then, of course, the big reveal, good night, Lexi, that's not my name. Bum, 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 it is now. And even that's something that I thought about, of A, whether her name would change, B, when we would find out, C, is there a need to change it? Because as I look into the witness protection program, or the witness security program, excuse me, a lot of times the people will change their last names but not their first names. And that's more for adults, because if you've lived, your whole life with the name Betty or Katina or Ralph, and suddenly people are calling you by a different name and you don't respond to it, then they're going to go, that's interesting. So I think that's the reason that they do it. Sometimes they leave their names the same but give them a new first, or like they go from Lexi to Larry. Hopefully not. Let me say that again. They go from Susan to Sarah or something. But Lexi, she's a little girl, and so would changing her name really screw her up? Possibly. If she was 1 or 2, it probably wouldn't. But now that she's 6, maybe a little more so. And then 2, does she have to change her name since she's not going in? Or who would make that decision? Did Holly make that decision? Okay, so now I'm going back to the very beginning and trying to work on the setup. In the previous version, Paul said something like, are you ready for this? Meaning, are you ready for this whole adventure? That was my interpretation of it. But now I'm trying to set up the fact that, which I don't do a very good job of, which is why I keep reworking it, of what Paul says that's not on the nose, that fills us in that Holly is getting into something that maybe she's not 100% prepared for or something. All right, stuffed animals. Just watching myself think, crinkles her face. Yeah, I don't think you crinkle, furrows her brow. You got wrinkle your nose, you got, expressions. That's another thing of what we've spoken of, and by we, I mean me, is how much you try to write in visually and tell the actress or actor what they're supposed to do. And then this idea of the promise, which maybe seems a little forced, because really the scene sort of ends, I think it did maybe in the previous version, when she gets the new name and Holly says, it is now, boom, and then the scene's over, because I think we've explained what needs to be explained. I keep saying we, and I don't like people that do that. they're running for president. We've run a great campaign, although in that sense, of course, it is appropriate to speak that way. But when you're writing a script by yourself, it's not. All right, that's Date 121. Thanks so much for sticking in there. If you don't think anyone is going to care about this, you are not alone, unless you were the person who said that, which would be ironic because you're watching it. Anyways, see you tomorrow.